It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Today we've got an epic stout battle to show you, courtesy and thank you to Headwin, who is one of my subscribers on my channel. Brilliant, thank you very much. He gave me two beers, a Hawkstone Black and a kind of Anspach and Hobday London Black, and it sort of led into this video. So here's the Anspach and Hobday. It's been out there, all of these beers have been out the fridge about 15 minutes, so they've had time to warm up a little bit. This is already reviewed on the channel. 4.4% ABV, 440 milliliter Nitro Stout can. And this was the Hawkstone Black he very kindly gave me, 4.2% ABV. He bought a 12 pack of these from Clarkson's website, Hawkstone Beer's website, and said, hey, you can have two if you want. And that led me into sort of having a look in the back of my fridge, because I bought 4 packs of other Draught Nitro Stouts in the last few months and thought, actually, there's a video. So this is Dorothy Black Irish Nitro Stout, 4.1% ABV, home bargains. Aldi also brought out a Mulligans Stout at 4.1% ABV, a Nitro Stout, which is very good. And they're all competing with this, Big G, the biggest selling stout in the world by far. And they all want a little piece of this market, let's be honest. Guinness Draught Stout, 4.1% ABV. So I'm going to start cracking these beers now, but I want to give credit to the two beers on my left, your right. Hawkstone Black is 4.2% ABV. Okay, it's 0.1% difference, but it's not gone down the line of, right, we're going to completely follow Guinness all the way down to the exact point on the ABV, on the alcohol by volume. We'll go 0.2 instead of 0.1. I like that. It's a point of difference. Anspach and Hobday's London Black, 4.4% ABV. And I think this is going to be the real challenge. This is going to be the real sort of... All of the other beers are probably going to be going up against this. This is a brilliant, brilliant stout. So let's get them open. Let's crack open Guinness. Good amount of smoke on the can opening. Using my own beer glass, my Barry Island IPA. If you've not tried Barry Island IPA, it was a beer that I brewed with Brains Brewery back in 2012. 13 years ago now. And it's still available for sale in Morrison's supermarkets. Which still makes me pinch myself, because the beer was only meant to be brewed once. It was one of those accidental, went viral beers. I love that. One finger. Tan coloured head. Jet black beer in the glass. And you have that lovely Guinness swirl, that Nitro swirl. There we go. Mulligan Stout. Here we go. Let's get it open. And if you... Oh, look at the smoke on that. Look at that. It's a dark, dull day here in Wales, and I've got all the lights on, and it really is a great effect, isn't it? If you've not poured a Nitro Stout like this before, or any kind of Nitro beer, this is how it's done. You get that in the glass as rigorously and aggressively as you can, and it creates that lovely foaming effect from the Nitro. There you go. Aldi's Mulligans Stout. Home bargains, Dorothy Black Irish Nitro Stout, 4.1% ABV. Whoa, look at that. Wow, wow. So what I'd like to say about the Mulligans and the Dorothy Black is that they're available in 4-packs. The little cardboard 4-pack boxes you buy in the supermarket. At the moment, as of 2025, you cannot buy them as a single entity. You can't buy a single can of it. That is looking the best. Dorothy Black's Irish Nitro Stout so far has got the best effect out of all 3 beers. The opening, the charge, the smoke on the opening, the aggressive look to it, that lovely carbonation. So far, Dorothy Black has the best opening, the best theatrical opening, if you like. Let's get these 2 big boys out, the ones that I'm sort of really excited about. Now, I was down at the Hawkstone brewery when they were trialling this beer. I went there as a sort of... Oh, wow. Wow. I don't mind that. I don't have a cream carpet. I have a tiled floor, so I can just get the mop out and clean the tile floor. I'm not worried about that at all. However, some of you might have a cream carpet or a cream rug, and now you might be slightly angry. So unfortunately, the one that I was so excited about had the worst opening. Oh dear. Do you know, I was speaking to Hedwin, who he really knows his beer, and he said the first batch of this, I didn't have the first batch of this last year. He said it was under, didn't have that sort of nitro effect that he wanted. And I think quite a little sadly here, because that is amazing. Look at it. Look at it. That's the best look in the glass. Never mind my beery hands. That's the best look in the glass. Look at that lovely nitro all the way down the glass. 1 finger tan coloured head, looks absolutely brilliant. So I think as a consequence of last year's undercarbonated Hawkstone Black, they've sort of overcompensated and put a bit too much of that sort of nitro surge in the beer this time round. And unfortunately, there's a little bit, it's not much. That wasn't even a quarter of a mouthful of beer that went on the floor. There's a few drops on the floor. Still not ideal though. Now that's about perfect, isn't it? I mean, I'm still going to give the opening to Dorothy Black. Dorothy Black got it so right, that sort of smoky opening. Yeah, look at this. Anspach and Hobday. This is the, for me, if I'm buying a Nitro Stout, this is the daddy. London brewery. London Black. Beautiful. Beautiful looking beer. Although, that Nitro rose up the glass quite quickly. 2 finger tan coloured head. It has a larger head than, I'd say the Hawkstone's a very similar head. Let's grab the Hawkstone. But have a look at the Anspach and Hobday. You can see a darker head on the beer compared to all of the other beers. I'm not going to pull up every single beer. You're just going to have to take my word for it. This has got the darkest head, which for me, offers up a little bit of you know, there's a bit more roasted malt in there. Right, I was quickly saying, very quickly. So I was at the Hawkstone brewery last year, and they were trialling this beer. They had it in the tanks, the fermentation vessels, and the head brewer down there at the time, I think he's still down there. He got me a nice glass of this beer, all filmed on YouTube. If you want to have a look at my Farmer's Dog pub video, and you'll see I go to the brewery too, and I have the first ever taste on sort of YouTube of this beer, and it was lovely, it was delicious. So I never tried it in the can though. I've got the second version. Right, let's roll my sleeves up. I really fancy this. Now, it's no secret that I don't rate Guinness. I just don't rate it. I just think all of the fanfare, all of the sort of hype, it just really doesn't do it for me in terms of flavour and in terms of sort of quality, if you like. I think it's quite a poor example of a draft stout. So let's get that bit out the way. I'm not going to pretend to like Guinness all of a sudden. Aroma. Bit smoky, bit sort of malty, which is good. Let's get in. I find it thin. I find it sweet. I find it slightly synthetic. Nice bitterness on the back end. But definitely a beer that I think has the dreaded glucose syrup all the way through this beer. There's a lot of things that are being hidden around in this beer, which I really don't like. Gives me a cracking headache as well, Guinness. If I drink 4 cans of that draft stout from Guinness, I will wake up tomorrow ruined, like oh, my head. For me, it took me years to work out what it was. It turns out it's glucose syrup. My body just doesn't like glucose syrup. You can taste it. It's a sweet, synthetic, sort of sticky taste. There is, of course, roasted malt in the beer. It's roasted on the back end. It's a cheap way of brewing beer. Being the biggest stout maker in the world, Guinness simply have to produce it this way. They have to produce it this way because they just wouldn't be able to keep up with the demand of the beer if they were to try and brew it with plain malts. So that said, Guinness is out of the way straight away. I'm not going to rule it out. I'm being very honest. I'm being very honest here. But let's move on to the Mulligans Stout from Aldi. 4.1% ABV. Aroma. Yeah, much more of a roasted, biscuity, traditional stout aroma. Let's dive in. Cheers. Doesn't say where it's brewed. Obviously Ireland, it's definitely brewed in Ireland, but it's brewed for or produced for Aldi stores. So we don't know for sure. I like that though. It's got a lovely sort of creamy, slightly nutty, slightly biscuity taste, a little bit of creme brulee coming through, and a little bit of bitterness on the back end. Not as bitter as the Guinness, but nice. Nice. So I'm going to give on this occasion, I'm going to give the Guinness a 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10 for the Guinness. The Mulligans by Aldi. Let's go through and try the other beers now. I'm going to rule the big G out straight away. Dorothy Black, Irish Nitro Stout. I'm sorry if this sort of upsets you. I'm sorry if you're a big Guinness fan watching this video. But sometimes the point of these videos is to point out that there's so much other better stouts out there than Guinness. You might see the adverts on the television, you might see it blasted all over rugby shirts and in rugby stadiums, you might see it at football matches. You might be sort of pressurised into, not pressurised, but sort of like think that the Guinness is the only thing around. It's not. And this is the point of this video. There's other stouts out there. Dorothy Black, 4.1% ABV. Same ABV as Guinness. Straight away, it's very similar to Guinness as a bitterness on the back end. It's rather bitter here on the back of the palate. Creamy and rich. This is more roasted malt. This is less of that sort of creme brulee of the Mulligan Stout and a little bit more roasted malt, a little bit more as probably what a stout should be as a traditional stout. Just think Fred Dibner drinking this in the 1980s. It fits, you know? Good mouthfeel, creamy and rich. Lovely beer. Probably the most traditional stout I've put into my mouth so far this morning. In terms of a good old fashioned, rough round the edges, bitter stout. Hawkstone Black, Jeremy Clarkson's beer. 4.2% ABV, slightly different can design this year. Jet black can, they've dropped that sort of brown creaminess that was on the cream brownie colour that was on the can. It's a jet black can this time around. Aroma. Yeah. Roasty and toasty. Touch of creme brulee. Let's dive in. Cheers, everybody. Oh, that's delicious. Oh, that's fantastic, yeah. Again, very, very similar to the Dorothy Black from Home Bargains. A traditional biting stout. Now, Jeremy Clarkson's from Yorkshire. He's from Doncaster, I believe. And I can imagine, going back to when he was a young man living in Doncaster, I can imagine ale, certainly up the north, ales was a big thing. Big thing. Ales, stouts, porters, almost sort of like, it's built into their DNA, I think, Yorkshire people. It's built into their DNA to be able to certainly produce a really good real ale or a really good stout, and to understand what a really good stout is, a really good real ale. Yeah, look at the lacing on the glass. It's good, this. It's a proper traditional stout. A little bit of tobacco smoke. A little bit of pipe tobacco smoke. I love that. Very, very traditional. Very, very sort of rough, raw and ready. It's not pretending to be Guinness. It's not pretending to be overly sweet and to be filled with glucose syrup. I think that's why a lot of people actually choose to drink Guinness, is because of the British palate. The British palate now is very similar to the American palate, where we just want to eat and drink sweet stuff. I don't really like sweet stuff. So Guinness doesn't interest me, but I can see why people drink Guinness, because it doesn't have that, It doesn't have that sort of rawness of a traditional stout. It doesn't have that. It has the bitterness, but it's equalled out with the sweetness. This is pure, good old-fashioned stout. Creamy and rich on the mouthfeel. Touch of sweetness to begin with. Good malts coming through. A little bit of biscuitiness, a little bit of wafer. Then the roasted malts come through. That coffee, that chocolate, that caramel, that sort of burn, bitter taste from the roasted malt in the beer. And then the bitterness comes through. Nicely carbonated beer. I like it. I really like it. But this is the acid test for all of the beers, and I had to leave it till last because it's such a good stout, this one. This is Anspach and Hobday's London Black. If ever I'm in London, I always look on my app to see where I can get a pint of London Black. Wonderful looking beer. Darker head than all the other beers. Jet black in the glass. Let's get the aroma. Layers of malt. Layers of malt, from wafer to biscuit to breadiness to roasted malt to chocolate to coffee to caramel. A touch of creme brulee. Ah, yeah, brilliant. Cheers. Instantly, slightly creamier mouthfeel, slightly more mouthfeel to it. It's 4.4% ABV. It's slightly higher in the ABV than the other beers, but I think that helps. That helps in that it's able to offer up a little bit more mouthfeel. It's a little bit more creamier. It's a little bit more rich than the other beers. It has more body than the other beers. It's roasty, it's toasty. There's a great amount of balance between sweetness and bitterness. I tell you what though, the Hawkstone Black is extremely close to this, and maybe because I went to Hedwin's offices on lunch and he sort of come down with a plastic bag full of beers for me, 2 cans of Anspach and Hobday and 2 cans of Hawkstone Black, and he didn't have really time to talk to me, so he gave me the beers and off I went, and off he went back to work. But maybe the reason why he gave me a Anspach and Hobday London Black and a Hawkstone Black was just to go, hey, these are very, very similar beers. And if he was thinking that, then I do agree. I definitely agree that Hawkstone Black, London Black. I definitely agree that these two beers are very similar. And they're probably the 2 beers that were always going to be fighting it out for the win. Hawkstone Black. Very good. I love that bitterness. I really, really like that sort of tobacco smoke bitterness to the beginning of the beer all the way through. I liked the mouthfeel. I don't think it's as creamy, as rich as the Anspach and Hobday. Not quite. It's close. Very close, but there's more mouthfeel here in the Anspach and Hobday. But I like the tobacco smoke here. It's the pipe tobacco smoke. It's that sort of Doncaster, Yorkshire rawness of this stout that I'm really enjoying. I thought that Anspach and Hobday London Black was going to be miles ahead here. It's actually not. In fact, I prefer the Hawkstone Black. I've been drinking this beer for years. London Black from Anspach and Hobday. For me, it was the king of Nitro Stouts. It's still excellent, don't get me wrong. But I'm actually going to be putting this now up against Dorothy Black, which has that sort of similar traditional bitterness on the back end. Here we go then. Dorothy Black, 4.1. Yeah, a little bit, going back to it now, a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of creme brulee coming through, a little bit of sort of maybe, now I'm tasting this back, it has that bitterness is coming through right now, but I'm sensing a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of that sort of maybe a touch of glucose syrup itself in the Dorothy Black. Right, here we go then. Dorothy Black. Yeah, Hawkstone Black. Oh yeah. Unbelievably, I think one more thing. The Mulligans, I didn't think the Mulligans was as good as the Dorothy Black, but we're gonna very quickly do Mulligans because it's only fair to Aldi. I have to be fair to Aldi. Aldi's Mulligans versus Hawkstone Black. Mulligans. Oh no. No, we're way too sweet. No. Let's be very funny now and do a Guinness. Guinness is diabolical. Absolutely diabolical. I always drink the Guinness first because I know by the time I finish drinking all of the other stouts, I'm going to go back to the Guinness and be like, what the hell is this? I'm going to finish with this. Yes, I watched a lot of Top Gear years ago, and yes, I went down to the farmer's dog, and yes, I've had comment after comment of, you know, when I bought the Hawkstone Lager first on YouTube, I sensed an opportunity and I bought the beer and I stuck it on YouTube and it did rather well, the video. But the comments that come through, oh, you're just a Jeremy Clarkson fanboy. I'm being as honest as I can here with the beer. I've been as honest as I can. I like Top Gear. I like the Grand Tour. I like the fact that Jeremy Clarkson is championing pubs and has opened the Farmer's Dog and all of these other things. And the Clarkson's Farm, I think, is brilliant. But I'm not going to stand here for those reasons and tell the world that I think Hawkstone Black is the best beer because I like Jeremy Clarkson. It's none of those things. I'm standing here today saying Hawkstone Black is the best beer in my humble opinion because it is. Because it is. You might choose to differ. What I would suggest you do is buy the beers yourself or buy whatever you can afford yourself. Can't afford all of these beers because some are in 4-packs and, you know, you have to order some of the beers online and it can be rather expensive. If you can, please do it. Please try it yourself and watch the video back as I'm doing it. And maybe you can go, yeah, actually, I might disagree with you in this area or that area. I might like a little bit more sweetness over a little bit more bitterness. This is just my humble opinion. For me, the Hawkstone Black's the best beer. Cheers. Comment, subscribe, boom, cheers.